My audio is not working. Why no work?
Put that coffee down.
It worked. I don't understand. It's like super quiet. Can you hear me? Maybe now? I think I heard you. Thank God. Mm-hmm. Oh, weird. Wait a second. We just stopped for some reason. That was weird. It said it uploaded and then it stopped. Now, wait. Yeah, we're not started again. I wouldn't think that would cause it to...
Ooh.
Ooh.
Workable. I can crank my input levels. I like that you've written Justin's clap in Airtable in the correct spot, and I've literally just like scrolled it with a biro on my plywood desk surface.
Wait, you wrote on your desk?
Yeah.
With what?
With a pen.
Does it come off, or you just keep writing over?
Just keep writing notes on there. There's all sorts of weird things written on there.
It's yours. Do what you want, man.
Yeah. That's why I own a wide belt sander, just so you know.
Let me take this table down real quick.
I can clean my furniture.
I need to clean my desk. That's a clip in itself.
Ooh,
how goes it?
Good. I've had a pretty weird week. We haven't chatted about this for a while, but I've been loving Quotient. Been really getting into Quotient.
You've been using it with clients?
Yeah.
Tell me, that's tantalizing.
Well, because of our kind of redistribution of roles here, it's meant that I'm now the sales and marketing guy. And so I'm now solely responsible for quoting and quoting output. Whereas before I had Sarah's support in outputting the quotes. So often I would generate the numbers and she would build them in Xero or in Quotient and she would send them on. Whereas now I'm the guy checking them, reviewing and then building them in Quotient. And I'm just really loving the, pinging them off to clients and being able to tell when they open them or don't open them and how many times they've come back and looked at it. And it's just, I find it super useful. And just, just the simple stuff that we didn't have before, being able to add in options and itemize stuff and just drag things around and kind of quickly customize a template to make it more attractive for a customer. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love that too. It's funny because my nature is to go, I wish it was better in this way. That's why I end up being, on like an Autodesk feedback group where I'm like, this is a little too much feedback now. Like I've dug myself too deep. But I think I've used it since 2018. It's honestly like the place where I go and find the most reliable info about a job.
Yeah, right.
It's just always there. Like all the important that needs to get translated to the client, I try to get into the quote so that it's there as like a contract, right? That's where we agree on things. So yeah, it's been good. I enjoy it. Works pretty well with Airtable, surprisingly, and like Zapier, all those kind of things too. Yeah. Have you had any comments from clients?
Yeah, I've had some good feedback from clients. We haven't integrated it into Airtable yet. I think it's got a couple of hooks in it, but we've kind of held off until we weren't sure whether we're going to commit to it. But now that I'm driving it, I'm keen. I'm going to hang on to it, I think. Do you have any issues with the fact that it doesn't generate a tax invoice? Is that an issue for you?
Well, I don't know if we talked about this. Oregon in particular has no sales tax. It's a unique one of two states in America that doesn't have sales tax.
Yeah.
I've lived in other states and it's a pain in the ass, but I never have to deal with that ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess not. I don't know. I don't know those caveats. People are wanting like a PDF or something for their bookkeeping.
Yeah, so businesses and companies particularly, if we send them something out of Quotient, it's just a quote and they can't put that through their accounting system to be paid by the powers that be because it's not a tax invoice. So then we have to turn it into a tax invoice in Xero. Yeah. But that sounds like that's not an issue. So people just pay directly from your Quotient.
Sorry. I misunderstood what you said. No, that is still definitely a friction point for me. I also just take it as a point of making sure that everything's right before I go and invoice them.
Yeah, sure.
So they don't end up paying something. Well, there is no way currently that I understand how to automatically have somebody pay. I've talked to
Please hold while Justin readjusts his menagerie.
Quotient about what I want is the client to be able to immediately pay a deposit without leaving the page.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
That's what I want. I don't want them to necessarily pay the whole thing. I want them to, without any other thing, before they leave and they don't have to go find an email or something. So far, no way to do that. If you connect Quotient and Xero, you can do that create invoice thing in Xero, and then I go and edit it, then I send it to them. And
yeah, okay. I've just put in our banking details down the bottom and written the language the next step is accept this quote, and then here are our banking details to pay a 50% deposit. When that deposit then clears into zero, that's when I generate a zero invoice and send them a receipt, basically, with a tax invoice. But and
There's
that's
got to
been
be
useful.
a pretty decent way to like use the API to, even through Zero, create an email that generates something payable that then
maybe.
ties back. There's got to be a way.
Yeah. I'm sure
We don't
there
do
is.
enough volume that it's like I'm not sitting here throughout a week going like, God, I have so many invoices to make. Like my stack of money.
No, for me, it's more about that. Like you said, being on the same page. So there's no hindrance to conversion. It's just like, cool, I know what I need to do next. I'll
Yeah,
give Justin
for sure.
some money.
For all of the years that I've used it, that is the thing. People love Quotient. I basically always used it. My first like maybe 10 quotes, I think I created in Excel, and then I'd make a PDF and then I'd email it to them.
Yeah.
And that took forever. And I was like, this has to change. And basically since then I've used Quotient. People just love it. And it's almost like a thing we make it an incredibly painless online contemporary quoting and payment process, because it's pretty rare, I think. But the pain point is the break between Quotient and paying.
Yep.
For me, that's the only time people get confused. They're like, where do I pay? You know, and I've tried to put in the language like you'll get a separate email with a payable link, and
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I'm Jim, the quoting and marketing guy.
You've
It
typed
worked?
in done. Yeah.
I got it.
Awesome. Very well. Well done. Well done.
It was really loud. Was it loud for you?
Same
God,
volume
it's
as
like
you.
deafening on my side.
Serves you right. Very good. So you just pipe in any audio from your side now.
I lie. I've never done this before, so hopefully I didn't mess up my tracks. But I have a separate track for sound effects, and I have Stream Deck piped in, so I can do
Put that coffee down.
a little of that action. But then I just threw an application in for the script, and I live created that and then connected it to the same track. I've been feeling incredibly stressed, and just like I can't get everything, not even close to like what I need to get accomplished every day.
Yeah.
And haven't found any good solutions there. You know, we're getting a few more inquiries. I'm working on some trickier quotes where I can't get material vendors to reply. We're chasing the big news of today, unfortunately, which this could change for all of you that have purchased a dust boot. Right now, they seem to have missed our custom order of strip brushes when I checked in, and they're trying to tell me it's going to be 12 weeks before they can do them. Trying to figure out how to resolve that so that obviously everybody that ordered in June doesn't have to wait 12 more weeks. Yeah, never fun.
That's frustrating. So you don't know solution on that at this stage, TBC.
My thoughts today were, so the custom brush is a little bit longer than what we can get from standard lengths. So they're like maybe inch increments or something like that. Yep. And we wanted a little bit longer than 3 inches. So they were like, cool, we'll do that. Somehow that didn't happen. So we can get the 3-inch brush now by Friday. My thought is the best thing I can think of is the best for them, best for the customers, and hopefully best for us too, is I'm going to reach out to all the people that have ordered and say, here's the scenario. Give people the option to wait for the custom one to come in, or to make a off-the-shelf 3-inch brush and then replace it with a custom one when that comes in, and hopefully not get angry emails. But it seems like most people will be all right.
I think given that most of the people who have probably bought in at this stage are sort of the early adopters, fans of PDX already, friends of the brand, I would have thought you'd be fine. Yeah. And I think, people will appreciate a little manufacturing update. And I think everyone, like all my clients and suppliers now, I feel like everyone's on the same page of like, wow, the last few years have been hard, and this is kind of the new paradigm now of like, it's just harder to get stuff, it's slower to get stuff, and we all just continue to get along and like understand that it's more difficult. Like,
what's frustrating about this one is it's not even like, oh, we can't get something. They just made a mistake, which is
gotcha.
Understandable, but like the guy had made multiple commitments through the process that it wasn't a problem, and they'd be shipped by now. So anyway, it's stressful because I'm always stressed a little bit about going on vacation or leaving for, a period of time. And while this was somewhat unplanned to go to the UK next week, it of course felt really close to the time we could be getting the brushes and then be assembling and be shipping. And now it's like feeling like we're trying to triage a bigger problem than just having stuff arrive. And I guess I just have to go, what can I do? Like I have to go and
yeah. I wouldn't worry about it. It'll work out. I totally know what you mean though. Like I took a day off on Monday this week, my daughter's birthday, and just, one day at home. I mean, I had other stuff riding on my mind, but just, one day out of the office meant that I came back on Tuesday. I was like, whoa, I've got so much to get through. How am I going to possibly catch up? I think I was already feeling behind at the end of last week. And so, missing that one day it was a bit overwhelming, but just, you can only
for sure
get through what you get through. And I think that's been one of the benefits of running a default diary for me, is just like, cool, I'm behind, yes, but I'm still only going to quote for 2 hours, because that's the rule. Consistency is more important than trying to like play crazy catch up and then let other things fall behind. So,
do you ever have people checking in on their quote process?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so then you're not probably as transparent as like, sorry, I only quote 2 hours a day.
No, but I wouldn't have an issue saying that. I've thought I haven't solved this, but I'd love to solve this. I'd love to have some sort of transparent queue system where a customer can almost see how many RFQs we've got, or like where they are in the queue.
That would be, for sure.
And like, cool, I've submitted an RFQ to like Butter, and I can see that, they're based on the rate they're getting through them, they're probably not going to get to mine until next week.
Yeah. Oh, I have a simple version of that. Do you number RFQs or jobs at all?
Do we number them?
Yeah. Like of a job number or something?
Yeah.
Like I number them as they arrive from the form. I was just thinking you could do like I don't know if you have these things, but like you go to a service desk in like a department store and they're like, now serving number.
Now serving quote 4376.
Right? Like you could just put a little that on your website of like what number you're working on and have it stream from Airtable. Like here's the active.
The active quote, yeah.
And they can see how far away they are.
The bit where that falls down though is that we do qualify pretty hard. So it's like, yes, you submitted an RFQ, but like we might have already either pushed it down the priority list, or you're about to get an email saying, no, sorry, we can't help. So I don't know.
Or maybe you can get Jay to do some magic. And the other version of this would be like if you send like an auto receipt, say currently it takes about 27 hours to get a next step, response, and you just average the time from first status change to next.
Yeah. No, I'd love to get
I want that too, if you get that figured out, Jay.
Yeah, okay, sure. Forgotten what I was going to say.
On that note, like I've mentioned it before, but here it's kind of they're a newish provider. At least they've been marketing hard to a lot of people, but Send Cut Send is like, maybe you've seen them online. They're like, you basically just send DXFs and they laser cut or water jet or whatever metal parts. So we've been prototyping stuff with them. And we were talking today, when you make an order, they have like, what we were joking is like the pizza tracker. So like you order a pizza from Domino's and they have a tracker. Like they have that for their parts. So like some of the parts we have being worked on, like it shows us the exact time they move through each step. And it says my parts are being powder coated right now since the 8th, which is kind of cool. And then what time they expect it to ship. And it's very, I go back there and check. It's almost like shipping tracking, where now I'm like, where's my parts at?
That's cool. I've wanted to do that with our Airtable build, because we move jobs through production statuses as they go through different processes.
Yeah.
And I remember we looked at it maybe last year and we couldn't work out an easy way to sort of share an Airtable listing without kind of oversharing. But I don't think it'd be too hard to make a little pizza tracker with what we've got in Airtable. If someone could go into their job and go, cool, oh, it's in the spray booth this week, or...
I suppose the most minimal I've thought the same thing, and I couldn't think of any way to make it private in any way, I guess. There's no like passwording. I guess the only way I can think of doing it for us, if we ever wanted to go into that process, which I don't know how beneficial it is, honestly, for us. It'd be interesting for the client if they actually did it, but like you could just have the job number and then like as like a embed on a site, and then when you type that, look it up, then you could see the status.
Yeah.
like what step it's in. And that would, I mean, if somebody else sees that, it's like, oh no,
Oh no.
oh, it's in
Whatever.
spray for
Yeah,
job
yeah.
999. Like,
Yeah, totally. You could have an Airtable view just with the production status views and the job number views, like no names.
Yep.
Or do people just have to know their job number? I reckon you're onto something there. And then,
Job
you know,
tracker.
it's only going to work for people who are kind of like proactive and interested enough to go and look at it anyway. So
Yeah.
if the interface is a bit weird,
Yeah.
so be it to start with.
Yeah. I mean, all those kind of little things, I think they're like stickiness for people that are potential or encourages them to be potential repeat customers. Like you're increasing the experience, especially, I mean, maybe you feel the same, but like here, people don't really, there's not a lot of embrace of technology and like web things for fabricators or people that manufacture. It's just not, there's not a mix of that. So that we have any of this pay by web or quote by web stuff is like already a huge step ahead, I feel like, and that kind of thing.
Awesome. Yeah.
I have a generic large question. Maybe a little shift here.
Generic large question.
I have a generic large question. I have large generic question.
Generic large question.
My generic large question is, do you as a company still feel nimble?
Ooh, that is a large question.
Or do you think, I guess there's two sides. Do you think your team feels that way? And do you feel that way?
Shoot, man. I should have read the show notes before I got online. I'm going to say less and less so. As we become more structured, I think that naturally phases out the old butter that was incredibly nimble.
Mm-hmm.
Slippery butter. We used to pride ourselves on being nimble and just being able to chase any sort of work, any direction. Oh, you want a fiber optic artwork? Yeah, sure. We'll make one of those and spend 18 months doing it. And then, oh, you want a little plywood thing for your market stall? Yeah, sure. We'll do that too. We'll do it all at the same time and not sleep.
Yep.
And I think, as we've grown up a bit and started valuing things like stability and sleep and not working 7 days a week, I'd say that's at the expense of being nimble and sort of defining who we are and what we do and what our specialty is, and slowly understanding that the more we specialize, the easier it is and the more work we get. By like cutting off opportunities, we're just finding more work basically. So that's been a really sort of unintuitive, interesting insight as we've moved along. So to answer your question, no.
That last little bit struck me. I think I learned in second year of school, this lesson that they very intentionally tried to teach us of like, they gave us this super constrained, super small site to design a house for. Which you don't do much house design in architecture school, surprisingly. But it was, I think, by definition, too small for the city. And so the goal was like, try to prove them wrong, right?
Yep.
Make a house here that feels good. And why does it feel good? And I love that. That's like the thing I love about design is the more constraints, often it like turns into a better project. And what you just described is almost that same exact thing. Your team and processes being more constrained to certain types of clients or work has proved to be better for you, which is interesting. I don't think I would guess that to be the case, but it makes sense.
It feels really unintuitive to me. And I think it's been a challenge for me and some of the other sort of long-term staff of having spent years in that model of just like, we can do anything. It's a big shift in thinking to, no, this is what we do and this is what we do well, so we're just going to do that. And no, we're actually going to say no to that RFQ because it doesn't meet a certain set of criteria. But but it looks like a really good job. But but it doesn't fit our new targets.
Yep.
So pretty weird, but effective is what it seems to be. Effective is what it seems to be.
Wise words from Yoda Master Jim.
Good backwards.
It's an Australianism, I guess.
It is now. Right, man. Editing last week's podcast. So the listeners out there, last week was the first time that I did the cutting of the audio, and I had to cut out so many weird, awkward pauses of mine.
Yep. I cut out. We both do that a lot. My friend had recommended to cut out more pauses when I sent him a draft of our first episode,
Oh,
and he was
really?
like, "There's like a lot of pauses there. You should cut out." He was like really nice about it, and I was like, "Okay." So yeah, I bet most of the editing ends up being cutting out the pauses between us thinking, so it just doesn't sound like we're just, "Hi, have a thought," and then like it doesn't feel weird naturally when we're talking. But
No,
maybe,
no.
and I don't know. Maybe it's not as weird as we think. And like my podcast app actually cuts out silence for me, which is
Really?
interesting as it's playing back Overcast. It's awesome app. I love it.
Weird. How efficient of you.
Yeah,
No silence.
that's good.
No
It's my
time for
AI
silence.
podcast app. Yeah, it's a lot of that
Where do you stand on nimbility?
nimbility. I think honestly, way too nimble still.
Yep.
For all the reasons that you've just described as being good. I would love to have found more of a specialty, I suppose, that continues to grow. Whereas whenever we get slow, I tend, with job shop work and we need it, I tend to start opening up the focus again.
The filters.
So then we're doing a
Yep.
bunch of small jobs that don't flow well. They don't, I suppose one of those things, right, you could focus on is like machine setup that's similar all the time. Like if we have to tear down a whole thing and set up a new thing, or like if you'd probably want to clean the machine out if you're doing aluminum to like stainless, and just all those little things that like if you only did, for example, aluminum jobs, you would need to eat that overhead cost. But yeah, way too nimble. I've been thinking about that lately more and more. How do I cut things out of this business? Like the thing my friend always says is you have all these fishing lines, in all these different ideas, digital products and physical products for two brands and job shop work and YouTube videos and courses.
Yeah.
And it's just honestly overwhelming at this point. Like I just need to start to kill off something, I think. Or the alternative is to hire somebody to help with it, but none of those feel like they would support somebody doing that. So it's really, I don't really have any answers to it because it feels like each one of them has good opportunity. And I mean, I'm kind of a broken record about this, though.
No, I totally relate though, because it feels so wrong to try and cut any of it out. Like it feels so unintuitive and backwards from the way that we've grown these businesses to then start saying no to something that you've always done, or just culling off a whole bloodline feels really weird. It's hard to reconcile.
Yeah, I mean, it even feels, even in the microcosm of the last 2 months of having what was really quite a big change in product sales for us with the dust boot.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a huge number, it was a big change because normally we sell like calendars and some digital stuff, and once in a while something else. It was a big change, and it got me like, it's like, all right, since October we've been doing this other product design thing. Maybe it's paying off now. And then those sales have slowed, and when we had already like kind of shifted away from I was like, did I just kill off the job shop work that now we need at this point? Yeah, just makes you feel like you've made the wrong decision, I think, in those moments, a series of decisions, and confused. Like we talked about advertising. It's like the advertising doesn't really work to continue hopefully pushing sales further for like for product. I kind of just feel in between all those things at the moment. Like which one of these, what should I focus on, this week or today?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you just described is an argument for consistently keeping the job shop work going as your sort of backbone. But that thing of like, not spending weeks or months just focused on product design, because then of course your job shop work will suffer and fall off. I'm going to sound like a broken record too, but like, quoting job shop work every day as well as moving the product design forward. So you've got this like regular flow of bread and butter work. Yeah. And you're not, because the biggest change in our business, I think, over the last year is just the flattening of the wave. We used to be so up and down.
That sounds amazing.
We chase the work, we get too much work, we stop quoting, and just that constant cycle. Whereas we've, through consistency and sort of focus, I think we've found that we can see it in like real graphs, like that wave just flattening off. And it's still up and down. Of course it is. It's always going to be up and down, but like it's a way flatter line and it's trending in an upwards direction. So yeah, I think we're on the right track. But
honestly, you having said that the last few weeks, or just since we've been doing the podcast, we knew each other from messaging on like Instagram before. I think we'd started slacking. We're not super well, and it kind of always figured we had pretty similar businesses, and you were a little ahead in experience and progress and things. But you having said that there's like a pathway to this making sense, like you're having success with all these things through your coaching, through your focusing on certain types of jobs and work. It's pretty encouraging. It feels like a light at the end of the tunnel of like, I would say this is the low point by any means, but it's like, it's just really challenging to be where I'm at the moment, I feel like. And I've always felt a lot of opportunity, right? The conversation I have with my wife all the time, this is going to happen someday, right? Like one of these things is going to work out better than it is now. And I'll just, I can keep saying, Jem says it gets better.
Yeah. With focus, I think it gets better.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we had a natural progression to this point. We flatlined for years in terms of our progress, and probably from the 10-year point, we were like very flat as a business, just like not really changing much, very similar sales, doing very similar work. And then, it's only really in the last year or so that we've kind of accelerated that and changed things dramatically and have started seeing the results of that. Obviously, we've still got a long way to go, but yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
So we just got in an email, parts department podcast editing. So somebody can edit for us. I think they were listening in somehow to this recording. We just got an email. This man offers to edit our podcast for us.
Oh.
So I guess we don't have to do that anymore.
Great. Outsource.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm not going to give them free advertising, but they claim to be doctors of this medium.
Is it personally addressed?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they did. Oh, I think they filled in the first line, and then I think you got the email too. They filled in the first line, and then the rest of it, or maybe they have like a Mad Lib. They're going to remove all the ahs, ums, and other mistakes. So obviously, don't listen to our podcast because we already have that done with Don and his minions.
This man doesn't even listen.
Don's all over it.
Don't worry, you won't see this doctor anymore.
Yeah. I guess I have a recommendation from somebody I think that listens. We've messaged back and forth forever, but he is Adjective Frames, or ADJ Frames on Instagram, recommended this book after we were talking about all the sales stuff called Boss Life, Surviving My Own Small Business, which is a little bit of a tantalizing headline for me at the moment.
Sure.
And so I was working on refinishing my stairs this weekend, and he had messaged that, and I was like, I'll listen to this as an audiobook. And it's a little dry. The guy, similar to like if you've read the E-Myth, like the stories are not great. Like the writing isn't like amazing, but the point is more like the guy goes through and details like, at this point today, when I came to work, my bank balance was this amount. It was like $132,000, and that'll last us 14 days if I don't do anything else. And I was like, whoa. That's some heavy burn.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten too far through it, but that was a good recommendation.
Yeah, cool. I'll check it out.
Probably listen to it on the plane.
Yeah, I've got a book I want to read, recommended by a friend last week, called Less is More. He's doing his PhD in architectural degrowth, or economic degrowth in the field of architecture. And got chatting to him, and I want to chat to him more about it because I'm intrigued and I want to read this book. So I'll report back on it once I've read it. What intrigues me about it is I think that economically the world has to slow down if we're going to survive. And I'm intrigued in terms of how that relates to, at a micro level, to a small business like ours that's trying to grow. but also trying to make furniture in a sort of low carbon model. How does, if someone buys a like butter set of shelves instead of an IKEA set of shelves, is that, and we're using carbon neutral manufacturing methodologies, is our growth offset by the fact that we're doing that? I don't know. Anyway, it's a complex idea, and I'm interested to explore it more, but I'll report back on that.
I don't know if we've talked about this directly, but I have a very, I've gotten over it to a certain degree, but part of what was hard for me to make things for other people when I started Portland CNC was the feeling of this doesn't need to exist in an ethical sense. A certain material, a way of making temporal things, like making things for Burning Man.
Yeah.
The last one, particularly, I've never actually made something to my knowledge for Burning Man, but I get quotes every year, RFQs. And my thought is they're going to have this done by somebody. Unless I'm not going to talk them out, right? Somebody's going to do this work. So that's my only excuse for quoting it, is to try to make it as minimal of an impact as possible somehow.
Yeah, fair point.
Lesser material.
Yeah.
But otherwise I just feel terrible about it. And I'm why? Even making your own products, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to make this thing, and I have to almost talk myself into, well, we have to make something, right, for somebody else in this business.
Yeah. In, I think 2019, we made a decision to stop serving event companies or people that were making one-off props for events. Or if an RFQ came through where it was clear that it was probably for an event, we go back asking the question, cool, what's happening with it afterwards? Is this just going in a skip, in a bin, or is it being reused? And so, then qualifying that job in or out based on their reuse policy, which feels a bit presumptuous, but we were just sick of seeing, this is before it was around the same time that we turned off MDF as well. So we're just, making these, MDF boxes for an event that we knew was a big cosmetics show or something, and we were, pretty confident that it was all going to go in the bin afterwards.
Unfortunately, really profitable too.
Yeah,
those event things.
It's profitable work. It's quick turnaround. They'll pay a premium for quick turn, and but I suppose, I get what you're saying about if you take on the work, you can try and do it as best you can. But our take on that was cool, let's just say no and just make it harder for those.
Yeah, sure.
Harder for those people. But it's an interesting conundrum.
Yeah, there's no, I kind of do a slippery slope thing for myself in those circumstances where it's well, if I say no to this, then I have to say no to that. and that and that and that, and it's all of a sudden I've reversed myself out of any profitable work.
Yep.
And this profession is still going to exist. You know what I mean? Yep. It's and I don't know. We do a lot of efforts to try to minimize waste and always try to offer it as reuse as much as possible when there is drop and stuff. But
cool.
At some point, it's unfortunate to just, it is what it is. I don't know. Try to use the best things you can. It's not keeping me up at night, but I definitely don't feel good about some of it.
Yeah. You need a little cricket sample on your stream deck. Oh. So when we're quiet for too long, you can just
Yes. Has your e-commerce sales picked up?
It has.
Yeah. Nice.
Don't know why. July finished. July was pretty flat. August started, and literally from day dot in August, it was just cha-ching, cha-ching.
This is my wife's theory. People got paid.
Maybe.
Get that money.
Or they paid their rent. They paid their rent, and then they're I have a little money left. Let's get a Bert.
Poor Bert we haven't sold a Bert yet.
Ugh. Somebody buy a Bert. Help them out.
No, it's been a strong, what's it been? Only a week and a bit. But it was good last week. Solid.
It's good.
Yeah.
What do you do? You always have job shop work, but do you get to the point where there's not enough production work ever anymore?
Yeah.
Then what de facto? Is it R&D time for everybody? Is it cleaning? Is it learning? What's the
Mm,
next step?
it's not that production work ever comes to a grinding halt. It's more because we have 4 people on the, like 5, typically sort of 5 people on the floor at the moment. It's more that they'll come to an afternoon where we've mismanaged the workflow a little bit, and one of those people will be like, I'm a bit slow. I'm running out of things to work on. And depending on who that is, it'll be like, cool, or redirect into R&D time or redirect into sales, helping with sales, or, there's always stuff to do. And I think it's dependent on who it is who's running light in terms of where they get redirected. But yeah, runs typically got a sort of secondary focus, I think. So like if John runs out of things to machine, he's got a long list of R&D to work on. So he'll switch to that. And if Aaron runs out of production, he'll come in and help with sales. And so, yeah, it works out. But yeah, we're trying to find the balance, always trying to find that balance of like how much we're quoting, how much we're feeding in versus how much we can output. And that, that comes back to quoting the right sort of work too, because some jobs will just slow us down and kind of get in the way out there. And things can grind to a halt just because of the type of work we're trying to do in large volume versus other jobs that kind of just slip through easily. Are well lubricated through the system and kind of flow through nicely and get done and out the door. But yeah.
What's interesting thinking through what you're saying, but also kind of at the same time thinking about that book I was listening to and how, Objective Frames. I forget your name, man. I hate about Instagram how you can't see. Jem. I hate how on Instagram, like, you can't, like, see people's real names, So, like, I think we introduced ourselves, this guy that recommended the book, forever ago, years ago, but it's like, it's not there anymore. So I don't remember.
I do the same thing. I'm like scrolling back. Who's this?
Yeah, and you can't go back far enough. I want to like make a note. But anyway, sorry, don't remind me your name. I'll have to message you. But it was a good recommendation because I was talking about sales, and I think in chapter 2 or whatever, he's talking about having to hire sales for the first time in 15 years because he literally got carpal tunnel. Was like the reason he was quoting so many. His commitment was to quote within 24 hours of receiving an inquiry. And so he would stay up just crazy hours trying to like pump out these. And so it's an interesting, he discusses like, it's helpful for me to hear how he went through, even if it was like 20 years ago, going from, I'm the only, like our discussion of we're special, nobody's going to learn this, to like his first person was an in-house shift from the floor to sales. That person did okay. And then he also hired somebody external for the next person. And just hearing the difference of those people and like how he brought them on and like having no idea how to do it and just his hiring practices that frankly sucked at first and like slowly learned how to, get better at it. Not that mine are good, but I don't know. It's just helpful to hear somebody else. The process. I suppose that's why people want to listen to this is they hear us complaining about our problems and trying to figure them out.
Yep.
Crickets.
Oh, nice. Interesting. Darn. So when are you off to the UK? Next week?
I leave Monday. Get back the following weekend.
So you're
Closest weekend.
Away for a week.
All the work week, yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't really know what I'm doing there. Like, it's some kind of feedback discussion thing for Fusion, but
as part
I'm
of a
thinking
bigger
about
event?
No. It's called a manufacturing sync-up. Yeah. I know a few other people that are going, which is nice now.
Sweet.
And debating, we'll see. I may do it, may not, but I might try to make like a little vlog out of the trip, keeping myself busy while traveling alone since it's not like an actual vacation. Might post that depending on what I can share from Autodesk and
cool.
Otherwise, who knows? I guess on that note, we're trying to record a podcast next week, but I also don't know my schedule. Jim and I live very far apart in time. So if there's not one, that's why.
That's why.
We couldn't figure it out.
We'll work it out, I reckon.
Yeah. I don't know why. By the way, my dog is here today.
You got a dog? Oh.
Hunter. Come here.
Hey, Pooch.
Do you want to meet Jim?
Oh, hello.
Mom is gone.
Meow.
She's coming to work with me.
How you doing, buddy? Awesome. Should we wrap it up?
Wrap it up.
What are you and Hunter doing this afternoon?
Gotta do a few more tests, tweaks on
Boots.
the final boot stuff.
It's a good looking boot.
We're basically just still tweaking the last weird little, like, literally choosing the drills that are undersized for press fitting, unique to the way that the plastic interacts with pins and magnets and stuff, because they either go in and stay or they come back out, and like, minor details. The material, 2 sheets of material we've ordered has varied by 40 thou, which is a pretty giant amount when you're considering, so it's 0.04, it's like a millimeter. And that's a pretty giant amount when you're trying to like do our little side drilling operation, or like it basically invalidates all of the chamfers and depths if you don't get it right. Stupid stuff like that. That needs to be made into a process somehow.
Dealt with, yeah.
How about you? Oh, your week's done.
Well, not quite. I've got,
as I remember,
a day of quotes and drawings ahead of me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Be good. Yeah.
Nice. Well, hopefully I'll see you and I'll be in another continent.
See you in London.
Next. I'll see you in the UK.
Beautiful. Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye. I like how you turned my whatever I said into like a last time. I can just do it for you.
Yeah, it was just slowing the pitch in, no, not the pitch, just the playback speed in the script. I did it in that sort of clunky, broken way.
Just an audio experiment is what this is.
Is that all I am to you? An experiment?